This portion of Morning Scramble is brought to you by Fane's Signature Group, Prescott Valley Entertainment District, where fun begins.
Welcome back to the Morning Scramble. We have some prolific authors here. 118 books, 26 books and counting. We are honored to have you here. I think about people that write music or whatever, and it's like, where do the ideas come from? But I think we should talk about where some of your original ideas made a big impact on the movie industry, Star Trek, Star Wars. You have an integral part to play in that.
There was a very fine animated series called Star Trek the Animated Series, which came on after the original series because people wanted more Star Trek, but Paramount wasn't willing to finance a live-action show. But they used a lot of the original writers, a lot of the original voice talent. I ended up novelizing those and made 10 books out of them called the Star Trek Logs. Subsequent to that, and keep the story short, I ended up writing what became the treatment or the outline for the first Star Trek movie. I mean, that's why I live in Prescott instead of in Hollywood. You know, you see your name on the screen for about half a nanosecond, and that's the end of it. But it was a fun thing to do at the time, and that was my involvement with Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Now, you worked with George Lucas intricately on some of this.
Well, that was Star Wars.
Star Wars, right.
That was Star Wars I just did the book for, but it was funny because I was writing the book version of Star Wars before the movie came out. So they're always making changes at the last minute. So there are things in the book that were not in the finished cut of the film, and there are things in the film that were not in the book. That's always the way it happens with a movie novelization. But it was strange to see these people making these models. Here's the Death Star, it's about this big, and a piece of plastic in Industrial Light and Magic, which at that time was a warehouse on Kester Avenue, actually 10 minutes from where I grew up in Los Angeles. Subsequent to that, Industrial Light and Magic and George Lucas have become somewhat bigger parts of the American cultural scene, but at that time it was very, very small.
You know, and knowing your connection on that really quiets the debate on which is best, Star Trek or Star Wars. I do in my heart feel Star Wars had a huge influence on where Star Trek had a huge influence on where Star Wars went. And obviously I think it did, since we're talking to someone who was so involved with both of them.
Kind of crossed over. Yeah.
Can you confirm that that's my theory and that's what I tell people? Am I right?
Or should she change her theory?
Or should I change my theory, Alan?
Well, they kind of influenced each other a lot. They did come out, fairly close to one another. If people want to see where a lot of this originated from, there's a film that MGM made called Forbidden Planet.
Oh, one of the top three you call the best science fiction.
The first really modern science fiction film came out in 1956 and is available in various editions. And if people want to see where a lot of Star Trek and Star Wars came from, that's a good place to look.
Of course, it's Planet and Day the Earth Stood Still.
That was 1951. That was an earlier film still.
Right, and I always forget which one you say is the third one.
Metropolis.
Right. The three, he cites those as the three best science fiction movies. Wasteland, let's talk. Let's give people an idea of Wasteland. What will we find?
Well, it's the first novel in the Wasteland trilogy, and it's about David. Just consider a strapping army guy. I picture The Rock, personally, but he's my favorite. But he's seeking redemption, and really the only thing stepping in between that is a beautiful guardian, Rebecca, because they don't match up. Guardian, half demon, not so much.
And he's 400 years old.
Yes, just out of 245 years of sensory deprivation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is he worse for wear, or what's our description of him?
Can he still hear?
Yeah. Everything is just heightened. And he's thrown into a dance club looking for his next target. So everything is just so new to him because he didn't have dance clubs before he went into sensory deprivation. And so everything's very raw.
I think so.
I know, right? Or cars or elevators. So.
And obviously it is a romance.
It is. You see Becca, one of the first frames.
Wasteland #1, #2 is Awaited.
Yes.
Okay. The voice is a powerful thing, and one more to come.
One more in the trilogy. In this trilogy.
Okay. In mapping this out, you have said you are driven to write. Explain that. What can you identify? What drives you to write?
Honestly, I came from a home of a marathoner, endurance athlete. That's determination, it's dedication, and that's where it comes from. And when I got a story in my head, I had to get it out. Just like Byron Lord says, otherwise I'll go mad. And the voices keep going, I got to get it out. And so that paired just landed me 25 novels.
You mentioned we want to let people know you're an inline speed skater and mountain biker. We will look at some video when we come back dealing with that, Lynn. Lynn Rush and Alan Dean Foster with us. Money Radio 1510 brings you the Money Minute. Let's take a listen.